Yeah, I'm laughing because I just saw it on the screen. Let it go, let it. Oh, good gosh. Okay, so let's go to something a little bit more serious. What are you drinking? I am drinking a nice green tea macchiato with the cheese cream on top. Very, very delicious. I see Meg in Japan has her, she has her Darjeeling tea. I'm not sure what you guys have for your bubble tea. Kind of just pop it in the room, see what kind of bubble teas you are drinking. Just want to give you guys some shout outs. People here, like 10 minutes before today's show started, up on YouTube, we had Rosarin, Fatima, Yanlan, Nikita. They were all over there on YouTube. And on Facebook, there's Wen, Kenny, Hannah, and some other people that I'm not sure. But just want to tell you guys one thing. Thanks for just joining a little bit early and like having a chat with me and other people. Also, another thing is, during this talk, the entire talk, if you have any questions, when you hear something, just start writing questions down. Just start writing them down anytime during the talk. It's fine, right? Once, if you write it down, we're going to put that right into the questions right away, because if I ask you guys at the end, then we're going to have like waiting time. We don't need that, right? So just make sure if you have it, go ahead and do it this way. All right. So let's take a look at the winners from last week's Bubble Tea Mania. We got in the Philippines, and 2 in Malaysia. That's like 3 people. Cool. So I hope that you guys too, today we'll be giving away some more bubble tea also. So there's going to be a question. Oh, I don't even know what the question is. Oh, I do know the question. Okay. And the question we'll give to you somewhere in the question and answer. And then at the end, we're going to pick a number, a random number. And of the people who guess right, we're going to pick a random number like, say, 4, which means the 4th person that got it right will be picked. And that person will get the bubble tea. And we're going to do it on both platforms, both on YouTube and on Facebook. All right. So everyone, get your bubble teas and everything together. Sit down, relax. We're going to have a great show today, because today's like our Disney show. It's Let It Go. Let it go, let it go. No, forget it. Sorry, it's letting go of the past, okay? Kind of a similar theme like Frozen, but not kind of the same, because we're not an animation. Even though sometimes you might feel like watching me is like an animation, this is still not an animation. So, everyone relax. We're going to start today's Bubble Talk. All right, so here's the first thing I want to talk to you about. Before letting go of anything, something's got to happen first. Is you need something to let go of, right? It's almost like this. Have you ever heard of the word resurrect? Resurrect is to bring back someone from the dead, which means if I'm going to resurrect someone, that person better be dead first, right? Something has to be done first in order for this to happen. So in order for you to let go of things, what has to happen? You need something to let go of. And you know what? I am sure that every one of you out there, almost every one of you out there, has something to let go, right? Something from the past got to let go from. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions first. The first question is, what are you holding on to, right? What's the thing that you're holding on to that you need to let go of? And you know what? What kind of things happen? The things we hold on to are like big mistakes. Now, you guys have had them before. Big mistakes, like embarrassing things. I'll tell you, once in high school, I let out the biggest fart in class, and everyone's laughing and looking at me, and I was like, oh, and what did I do? I turned around and I pointed at the person behind me. It could have been big trauma, but I think that person has to let go, right? Big mistakes, also trauma. Right? Sometimes you have trauma, things like really bad things happen in your life. Sometimes it could be abuse, like people can bully you. It could be physical abuse. It could be lots of different types, some type of loss, death, or huge disappointments in your life. And that's something, too, that we kind of hold on to, and it is very, very hard for us to let go, and especially when we get into misunderstandings and we fight with our brothers and sisters, right? Man, that's a tough one. Your friends, family, when you fight and you just can't get over it and you can't even forgive that person. The second question I want to give to you is this. What do these mistakes cause? Like, what do, the things you can't let go, what do they cause in your life? Well, they cause a couple things. For instance, it makes you keep thinking about them all the time. And you get scared that they're going to happen again. You get tons of worrying, lots of anxiety. Your mind is going to explode. And one of the things that happens to a lot of people is there used to be like extroverts that they would go out and meet lots of people. Something really bad happens, and then they retreat into a shell. And they're not the same person they were before, right? Because of these things that they can't let go. That's what happens when we go through these difficult things. The last question I ask for you right now is, what does it cost you? Right? What does it cost you in life to have things that you don't let go? And we know why. It costs you happiness. It costs you joy. It costs you peace, love, trust. You know, there's so many things that we lose. Like, it's like you let a thief into your house and just robbed you of your things, right? But what's being robbed? It's kind of your enjoyment and fulfillment of life. And this is why a lot of people want to learn how to let go of things. Now, of course, whenever you have these things you want to let go, you tell your friends and family, like, oh man, I just can't let go of this. And you know what they say to you? What's the most common advice they always give you? They always say to you, let it go, right? And they're like, let it go, man, and like hit you in the back. Come on, man, it's okay, be a man. Like they say that to me, be a man, man. Just like, let it go. Or they'll be like, stop worrying, what's wrong with you? And you hear these common things, but the craziest part is, if it was that easy, or if you could let go, you would have done it by now. But you didn't, right? So that's why I want to talk to you today about this amazing, amazing topic that all of us have to learn. We only got 20 minutes to do this, and that's why I'm only give you like one or two just key things you can work on to get to that point, right? I want to make it so it's practical, something that you can do right now and practice on so that you can get used to letting go of things. So if anything else, what I'm going to talk to you about now is understanding. Right? You need to understand first, right? Understand about yourself, understand the situation and why you can't let it go, right? Why is it so hard to let go? How come you can't do it and let go? Because, you know, like I told you, most of you guys know I'm a pastor, I'm a missionary. There's a lot of things I learned, especially from the Bible, like some really, really wise things. And this is a really great verse. It's in Isaiah chapter 43, verse 18, 19. Really good verse. Why? It says, you have to forget the former things, right? Don't dwell on the past. And why? Because the next verse, verse 19, tells you why you shouldn't. It says, see, I am doing a new thing. It springs up. Do you not perceive it? What it means is, if you hold on to the past, you can't see the new things that are happening right in front of your face. Right? And that's true. You can't enjoy the moment right now because there's something holding you back. And that's why us too, we have to realize, wow, what do I need to understand better about myself or this situation that I can let go? Okay? So, first thing I want to tell you is this. I'm going to tell you some myths. There's myths of letting things go. And a lot of people are like, what's a myth? People are like, well, this happened to me, or that happened to me, or this person did this to me, or that person did this to me. Let me tell you one thing. What is the common denominator with those four things I just said? This happened to me, that happened to me, this person did that to me, that person did that to me. What's the common denominator? It's you, right? The common denominator in all these situations is it's happening to you. Right? Now, I'm not telling you guys that, hey, it's all your fault, because it's not all your fault. It doesn't matter whose fault it is at this point, right? This is about, can you let go of it or not, right? First, you have to know is it starts with you. You're the one, not saying it's your fault, is you're the one that has to deal with it, right? Because, you know, think about this. If someone says something to you and they hurt you, but they don't even know it. So you're crying all night, or you're like, oh my gosh, why did my friend say that to me? And then like you cry for like 3 days, and you finally meet them. You're like, hey man, you said this to me and I was so hurt. And they're like, oh, I did? And what happens is you feel stupid because you were the only one that was hurt by it for 3 days, thinking about it. Oh my gosh, it was just you. It had nothing to do with that person. That person didn't think nothing of it. And they just said, oh, I'm so sorry. But you put yourself through that for 3 days. Right, haven't you had that before? Where you're the only one suffering from it, everyone else is like, really? Oh, I didn't know. And you're like, oh man, was I the only one? You see, you have to think about this. How do I know it's us that has to deal with it? Because you have to test this. Test what I'm saying to you. Is it just you dealing with it? And the answer is yes. So think about this. If the issue or the person is the ultimate reason, like 100%, right? Like it's because of that, because of them, right? Let's test it. If it's because of them, that means every time something like that happens should make that person 100% like hurt and like, oh no, and they'll never get over it. But think about it. In every situation, do you have some people that get hurt and some people don't? Some people are sensitive and some people aren't, right? Some people feel it and some people don't, right? It's true. It's actually not the issue. Right? It's not the issue is what happens, not the event, it's not the person, right? It's actually about how you deal with it. That's the biggest thing. That's why you have the first realization you have to have, it begins with you, right? If it was the situation that was the problem 100%, then 100% of the people would be traumatized by that thing happening, but that's not true. If failing a test is the thing that makes people depressed, then 100% of the people that fail tests should all be depressed. But the answer is, it doesn't work like that. Some are, some aren't. Some people overcome it. Some people are they get killed by it. Whether it's death or loss, mistakes that you make, abuse that you went through, disappointment. All those things, not everyone is affected by it the same way. So the new question comes up is, well, how come others struggle? No, how come others are stronger, right? How come they're stronger than me, right? Why? How come they're stronger? And the answer is, it's the right and wrong question. It's the wrong question if your attitude is like, why are they stronger than me? Because that's not even a question. That's a complaint, right? You don't even care about the answer. But if you're really wondering like, hey, how is that person stronger than me? That's the right question. Why? Because there should be a reason why they're stronger. There should be. Doesn't that make sense? Someone's stronger for a reason. They're not stronger. The how come they're stronger is a great question. And you have to think to yourself, how do they get over it? And how come I don't get over it? How come they're stronger? Since you're the one dealing with it, why is the other person stronger? Why can they let it go and why can't I? Let's take a look at another verse, a very famous verse that I really like. It's in Proverbs chapter 4, verse 23. And it basically says, above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. What does that mean? It means that, you guys got to know, everything comes from here. All your emotions, your thoughts, it all pours out from your heart. And that's why it says to guard your heart. Because when you don't guard it, what's that mean? It means that it's like guarding your house. If you stop guarding your house, a thief comes in and takes your happiness, takes your joy, takes the trust, takes the love, and you'll never find them. But if you're guarding the house, then the thief can never come in and take it. And this is why we need to start with us first. Everything flows from here, which means it's you. So let me give you some advice, okay? How is someone stronger and why is someone weaker in something, okay? Very, very easy. You have to strengthen yourself to be strong, right? Strengthen yourself. It means it's like a muscle or a skill. Any muscle, when you go to exercise and you work out, you have to work it out to make it stronger. Any skill that you have, like for instance, if you're a master at making bubble tea, then you'd have to do it 1,000, 2,000, 5,000 times, and you become a master of bubble tea, right? The more you do it, the better the skill. The more you exercise, the more stronger your muscles get. In the same way, too, of letting things go, there is a muscle and a skill that you have to practice. And this is the thing I want to talk to you about today. You have to practice the things that help you let it go, okay? The more you practice, the better you get. Now, remember, like we said, it's a very, very short thing. So I'm going to give you like one major thing today that if you practice this, the majority of the things you need to let go will be let go, okay? First and best advice is this: seeking truth. You have to seek the truth. Like, what? What does that mean, seek the truth, right? There's a great verse in the Bible, John chapter 8, verse 32. I love this verse because it says, when you know the truth will set you free. This is great. Why? Because if you want to be set free from all this suffering and this pain and the hurt and the crying and the tears and the worries and the anxieties, all these other different things that are going on, you need to find out the truth, right? So you need to be set free from this black hole you put yourself into. You know, what do you mean by a black hole? A black hole is this. Someone says or does something to you, you're really hurt by it, you go home and you just think about it. And you go into this deep black hole in your head and it just sucks everything in. And the more and more you think, the deeper you get into the black hole. Oh, maybe they hate me. Oh, maybe they think I'm ugly. Oh, maybe they... And all of a sudden your thoughts go crazy, just deep into that black hole, and you start thinking the craziest things like, oh, maybe it was the clothes I wore. Maybe my pants are too tight and they think that, like, oh, I'm not a man. Like, you know, like all these weird things come into your head. When you start doing it by yourself, you get sucked into this black hole. Everyone goes through it. When you're by yourself and something bad happens to you, the weirdest thing is we don't seek the truth. We don't seek for what was actually being said to me. If someone says something to me, we don't actually ask them. What do? We go into the black hole and we just start to assume. Oh, it's probably because they don't like my mom and they want to kill my mom. Like, where where does that thought come from? Kill my mom? Like what? But it happens. You think of the craziest things ever. It's like, oh, they bought me the wrong bubble tea because they're probably cheating with their boyfriend. And then you go tell your friends that they're cheating, and it is really, really weird. Like the things that come up in your head when you get sucked up into that black hole. The problem is what? Right? The problem is you're not seeking truth. You're not seeking what is the actual answer, but you sit there assuming inside your mind. What you need to do is you got to ask the person. You got to talk to them. You got to say, hey, you said this to me yesterday and it really hurt me. And you know what? I guarantee you 90% of the time it's going to be like this. Oh, really? Oh, man, I didn't mean it. Most of the time they don't even mean it. Most of the time they don't know what you're going through. They don't. It's like, imagine you have a secret, like your parents are secretly divorcing, and then someone starts talking about your parents divorcing. They don't know, but you're hurt by it because your parents are secretly. But how would they know? They don't. But you're like, oh, I can't believe they say that when I'm going through this situation. And the answer is, they don't know you're going through it. They don't know. People are in different moods all the time. They're in different moods, right? It's the same thing like, as I was a pastor in like New York and stuff, people would struggle like saying, God is so unfair. And then for 2 weeks, they would just sit there in their own black hole. They would be depressed coming to church. They'll start skipping church and everything else. I'll finally reach out to them, and they're like, well, yeah, I think he's unfair because of this. I'm like, oh, no. Well, if you look at the Bible, this, and they're like, oh, that makes sense. I'm like, dude, you could have asked me like 2 weeks before. You wouldn't have to go through this 2 weeks of craziness. People have to learn how to seek truth. Why? We don't seek truth just to seek truth. You seek truth to be set free from suffering, set free from those terrible things that you put yourself through, right? Yes, your friend said this. Did they really mean it? Do you know? Is that what they actually meant? Did you talk to them? One of the worst things that we do as human beings, and the reason why we can't let go of things, because we don't talk to them anymore, and we go into this like retreat into a shell. They said this to me. And then like, it's all like spilling out of my mouth, and I have like stuff come out of my ears. It's gross. Well, actually, I don't know if stuff comes out of your ear, but let's just pretend, right? So what we have to realize is, number one is, this is the biggest thing I want to talk to you today is about, you have to seek the truth, which means that the moment you get, what? Why'd they say that? The right thing to do is go to them and ask them why they said that. That's what you should do. You should go seek the truth, right? That's how we're set free. That's, and that's the thing I want you guys to practice, which is great communication. Lots of communication. Don't hide in your shells. Don't run away. Don't go into the black holes of your mind. Talk to people. You have to communicate as best as possible. Right? Communication is one of the best skills, and I'm sorry, I just want to say this for everyone who's born after 1995, you guys are terrible with talking to people. I just want to say that. Just want to be honest. You guys know your phone is better than the people around you. It's just statistics. You guys got to learn how to communicate better. Not by text, face to face, on the phone. Text is like the last thing possible, right? So you need to communicate until you have this moment. Remember how I told you about that guy who had that misunderstanding with God, like God's so unfair? When I taught him and I said, hey, you misunderstood. They're like this, why did I just ask before I didn't have to go through this suffering, right? You need to get that moment. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. You didn't have to suffer for most of it. So, let me just give you 2 things to help you with communication, okay? First thing is, calm yourself first. Calm yourself down from your emotion first before you communicate, because you have to realize this. No one communicates well when they're emotional. I'll show you a Bible verse. The Bible verse is Proverbs chapter 29, verse 11. It says, a fool gives full vent to his anger, but a wise man keeps himself under control, right? Wisdom is you keeping yourself under control. And sometimes you can't, which means that you need to cool yourself off. Because when people become emotional, you've all experienced this. I don't need to explain this to you. Do you guys really make good decisions when you're emotional? Really? This is, I'm a business major. This is one of the reasons why people lose money in the stock market, because they're so emotional, like, oh no, the stock market's going down, sell everything, sell everything. It's a very emotional thing. People who are emotional, they lose the most money in the stock market, right? They're just following their emotions. Oh no, I feel really, no, what's going on? Nah, you got to get rid of the emotion first. You got to, not rid of it, calm it down first. Because when you talk with emotion, and it's like full-on emotion, there's no communication. Haven't you guys ever had it when two people are really emotional and the person's like this looking at you? And then you know, because you've been in that situation before, where all you're listening for is something to say something bad against. You're not even listening to the person. You're just waiting for something to pounce on. Oh, I didn't say that, man. And then you start like pouncing on the communication doesn't happen that way. It doesn't happen. So first, calm yourself down. No one communicates when they're at a very high emotional level. You need to be reasonable. So that's the first advice I give you when you're going to communicate with people. Second one I give to you is from the verse Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 12. It does say, one is overpowered, two can defend themselves, but three cords, strand cannot easily be broken. I'm telling you guys, in a relationship, there are sometimes, I completely understand, because sometimes you can't talk to that person because it hurts too big, and you've talked and you fought too much, right? This is when you need a third person, you need a mediator. Right? You need someone in between that both sides trust, that can mediate between both sides just to get over that first wall, those big thick walls that you've made between each other. You need someone in between to hop over and over and over and over, right? And that's, like communication is not bad when there's a mediator. Sometimes a mediator is necessary. That's why mediators are used all over business. Mediators are used in marriage. Mediators are used between friends. Mediators are used everywhere. It's a normal, common thing. Why? Think about it. If two people can't get along and it gets really, really bad, you need a marriage counselor. You need a third person, right? And if things get really bad between people or things that were happening to, you do need a mediator to help you out. So my biggest advice right now, to get rid of like 80 to 90% of your things that you can't let go, a lot of the reasons is because you just don't know, you assumed you went to a black hole. Most of these things are. And you don't understand their situation and they don't understand yours. And how could they and how could you? You don't know everything going on in people's lives, right? So number one is, before you talk, make sure you're not emotional, like strongly emotional. Number two is, if you have to, get a third person like a mediator to come in to help you out with this. You see, this last thing I want to tell you guys is this. Because, everything begins and ends with you. In the end, you have two choices in life. And let me ask you, which one would you rather have? Number one, happy and joyful. Like, you want that type of life. Or number two is resenting, guilt-ridden, angry, and sorrowful. Which one do you want? And the answer is everyone picks one. Why? Everyone picks number one is because that's kind of what our goal is in life. We make all our decisions to go to something to make us happier and to make us more joyful, to give us pleasure, right? That's what we want. Everyone wants number one, which means that you have to realize most of the pain, like you will go through initial pain if someone hurts you, but continuous pain usually happens from yourself. The continuing pain. Like someone will say something to you, yes, it's going to hurt you, you feel the pain. But at a certain point, you have a choice whether to keep having pain or not. Let me give you this last example. You can have a problem with someone, and even after talking to them, you still feel pain. Now, even after you know that they didn't do it on purpose, even after you know that they weren't doing it maliciously, you can still feel it. Where's the pain? It's all here. It's inside you first, right? And that's why you have to realize the final decision, all the pain starts and ends from you. And you're the one who's able to do it. And that's why I'm telling you guys right now, you guys got to communicate a lot. And that's my biggest advice I give to you in this short amount of time. Communicate, not when you're emotional. And if you need to, get a third person. All right. So I hope you guys really, really enjoyed today's talk about letting it go, right? Letting go of the past. I hope you guys can think about the things that you need to let go and what are the ways that you can practice and strengthen your communication so you can let go more easily, okay? So those of you who are here for the first time, I welcome you here to this Bubble Talk. If you're on Facebook, we do have a YouTube page where we have every single Bubble Talk on it. We're on like Bubble Talk 23 right now, right? We have 23 23, right? So we have 22 other talks on that YouTube channel. It's called Espresso with Sky. We're going to put the link into the room. Just subscribe and hit the bell notification because you will get every time we upload a video and every time we go live, you'll get a notification for that. Those of you who want to support us in this ministry here, go ahead and you'll see there's a Patreon link for those of you who really want to subscribe and help us and support this ministry. And those of you who really want to go deeper into the Bible, deeper into the Word, we have this really fun thing. We have a Bible study every Saturdays, 1 p.m., where it's a little bit more intimate. You get to see each other's face, we get to talk to each other, and you get to go into groups with people from all over Southeast Asia, from Indonesia, from where? Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, right? All over. There's some people in Japan and Taiwan. Anyone can join this one, so you guys can go ahead, and there's going to be a link in the room that you can click on that too. Just make sure you hit the like and comment below, and I hope that you guys enjoyed today's talk. Now, it means it's time for question. Wow, okay, there's already a lot of questions now, so we can go straight into question and answer. Wait, let me just have a sip. Okay. So now, we are going to go into today's question and answer. Okay? So, how many questions so far we have? Okay, so let's take the first question from Sean in PJ. It says, when I get angry, I get really emotional and it's hard to control. How do I calm down faster? Great question. So, yes, there are some people who have, you're not very good at controlling your own emotional parts. What I would do to be polite is you would tell them, I really want to talk about this, but right now I just got to calm myself down. So give me some time. So tell the person first, then go off and, try to calm yourself down. There's a couple of different ways to calm yourself down. Number one is breathing techniques, right? And I want one of the best ways to calm yourself down, because when you're really angry and you're like, emotional, your heart begins to beat super fast. So one of the ways you can calm yourself down is physically slow your heartbeat by breathing in 6 times a minute. That's your goal. 6 times a minute, deeply in and out, where you only breathe 6 times a minute, and you'll slow your heart rate and you'll calm yourself down. The second one is a good one too, is meditation or prayer. Depends if you have faith or not. Prayer or meditation, when you go into prayer and meditation, it actually scientifically researched and proven to calm you down and even lower your blood pressure. So that's another good thing that you can do, okay? So those are 2 things I would, I think, Sean, you should just practice them. Practice them, right? Once you practice them, it's great, right? And remember, it's like a muscle. You got to keep practicing it. It might not work in the beginning, but keep practicing so that you get better and better. Great question, Sean. Let's go to the next question. Next question is Catherine in KL. How do I find a good mediator? Can it be a friend? Can we have more than one mediator? Cool. All right, Catherine in KL, great question. How do I find a good mediator? Now, just a couple things you need to know about a good mediator. Number one is someone that you respect. Friends are a little bit tough because friends usually take sides. And that's why friends are they're a little bit biased, right? So that's why I do recommend someone you trust when it comes to advice. Someone you can get advice from, right? Someone you trust on both sides, right? So you can have more than one mediator, but the moment you have more than one, the harder part is those 2 mediators have to be able to communicate really well too. So in the beginning, I do recommend to make it simple to have one mediator that both sides trust, that both sides respect. Like for instance, at church, a lot of times people would confide in me as the pastor, that I would be unbiased and I would look at both situations properly and then be able to help them out on both sides, right? So, it's finding a good mediator, someone not like a friend, like that type of trust. It's a trust of someone that thinks higher than you and can give you great advice and can calm the situation down. So that would be my best advice for you, Catherine. But this is a really, really good question. Let's go next question. Next question is Heidi in Penang says, I have a really hard time forgiving someone because I don't think I can trust them again. How do I let go of the past offense and move on? Wow, okay. Forgiveness is, we can do another whole topic on this one. But we'll have another topic on this one. But the one thing you need to know, Heidi, is one thing that might be holding you back, it doesn't mean you have to trust them again. trust is not something you just give back to someone. Trust is earned, right? So if someone breaks the trust, you can still forgive them, which means that, yes, I forgive you for what you've done to me. That's fine. Because you can forgive. Like a stranger, you can forgive them, can't you? All these people, you can forgive them, but don't attach forgiveness and trust. It doesn't mean the moment, like, it's like, if my wife cheats on me, I lost trust in her. I can forgive her, and I'll forgive her and say, yeah, I understand, you're really sorry. I see that you're really sorry about this. I forgive you. But it doesn't mean all of a sudden we're best friends again, right? Trust and forgiveness are not like combined together, right? It's something that people earn back, right? And that's, you can still forgive without getting the earning, like without, the trust and the forgiveness are separated, where you can forgive them, you can still treat them nicely, and you forgave them for it, but getting the trust back, you want to separate that. And that could be one of the reasons why it's hard for you to forgive, because you're attaching trust with forgiveness where it doesn't have to be together, okay? Great question, Heidi. I hope it works out. Next question. From Lilia, all the way in Deutschland, from Germany. What can I do if I don't know exactly what I need to let go of? Wow, okay, that's a good question. If you don't know exactly what you need to let go of, I would actually, because from this question, I'm assuming that there is something that you're like anxious about, or something you don't feel good about, or something like, oh, what's going on? What's happening? Like, why do I feel so trapped? And there could be multiple different reasons. And one of the reasons I didn't talk about today, like I'm not saying this is a reason, but there's multiple reasons, that Lilia, part of the things that could happen is you might actually have something that you did wrong, right? That you still hold guilt towards, right? That you just didn't realize. Like there's tons of different things, but another one is sometimes we have things that we did wrong and we just kind of like treat it like it was nothing and you just kind of move on. But a lot of people were hurt along the way, or things are happening. There's one reason. Another thing you can do that I probably recommend also, this will probably lead you towards those things, is if you're a person of faith, well, Lilia, I know you in Germany. So Lilia, for you, one of the big things you can do is meditation and prayer. And with meditation and prayer, we do ask God and say, God, okay, God, there's something holding me back. I wonder what it is. We wait for God to speak to us. People in meditation, when they think like, oh, what is the thing holding me back? A lot of times when your mind becomes very, very clear and reasonable, we begin to slowly go back and see things bit by bit, right? And that's actually a very, very good thing. And if that doesn't work, if you really need help with it, like to something to pray or meditate about, I would say ask someone close around you. Right? Like ask them, hey, have I done anything wrong lately? Wow, what? Is there something that, you have people around you? Because put it this way, no one sees their own face. Well, unless you have a mirror, right? But in most cases, no one sees their own face, which basically means usually it's the people around you that see your face. In the same way, a lot of times our actions and things that we do, we don't see it ourselves in the same way, but the people around us do. And another thing that I would advise is ask those people around you too, and they can help you out also. All right? Lilia, thank you for that question. Let's go to the next one. It is Hannah in Japan. Says, when I decide to fully let go of opportunities, a lot of what ifs come into mind after some time. How to deal with lingering attachments in order for me to achieve the greatest sense of letting go. Wow, good question. Because one of the big things that happens to me, it's like when you get a bubble tea, I order it, and then I look back like, oh, I could have ordered that instead. When I see someone else walking by with another one. When you buy a phone or a big purchase, what do you always think of? You always think of, oh, is it cheaper somewhere else? And you keep, after you bought the phone or the laptop, you start looking somewhere else instead, right? You're looking like, oh my gosh, is there a cheaper laptop out there? And this is something that we do all the time. It is, right? And the one thing that you can is like, well, I already decided to let go of this opportunity. But they're like, oh, what if this, and what if this, and what if this? And the answer is true. It is true. There are a lot of what ifs. But the one thing you have to get in your mind is this. There are tons of what ifs, but there is no guarantee that it's successful, and there's no guarantee that it's a fail. There's no guarantee. Like, haven't you ever had that? When you have two choices and you take this one, and then you fail here, and you're like, oh, I should have taken that one. But the answer is, Just because this fails doesn't mean this one's going to succeed. There's no guarantee, right? In life, one thing is we'll never know the future. We just don't. And that's a good thing, not knowing the future, right? If you don't know the future, then if it's guaranteed, then what happens? There's no excitement. There's nothing to work towards, right? You never learn anything. If anything, whatever direction you take, it's always a success because you're either gaining from it or learning from it. Other things, what ifs? Yeah, it's possible. It is. But you need to get yourself into a mode where you practice not to think about what ifs. You got to practice that muscle, right? Focus on what you have. This is one of the things that people, this is one kind of interesting way to look at it. The past is already done, right? Which means it doesn't exist anymore. The past doesn't exist. Like you can't change it. It's just there, right? And then the future doesn't exist either. Why? Because it hasn't happened yet. The only thing that really exists is right now. Like what is happening right now. And that's one of the biggest things we need to focus on. Even if I focus on the future, my future is not going to be 80% of my life on the future. I'm putting 10 to 20% on my future and like 60 to 70% on the present, because my present shapes my future. And the past, I'll put like 5 to 10%. Why? Because you can't do anything about it, right? The past, you can't do anything about it. Doesn't work, doesn't work. No one has any idea, right? If we were, the only time you should be upset is if you knew 100% it was going to succeed and you let it go. That's when you should be mad, but you never knew. So it's really hard to say that, oh no, I should have taken it. And the answer is, well, you could have, but no one knew. That's why if you understand this concept too, it's very hard to get mad at people because you realize there's no way they knew whether it was right or wrong. They're just going off an educated guess. Okay? So, thank you, Hannah in Japan. We have our last question. So before the last question, we're going to give our bubble tea question of the day. So I want you guys to write this right away. Today's bubble tea question, last week you guessed my shoe size, which was a 12. Today, I'm going to give you a question, and I want you to write it down in the room, and then we're going to have a random number that's already selected over here. So, like I said, if the number's 3, then the third person with the right answer will get it. Okay? So, ready? Question is, what country was I born in? All right, what country was I born in? Go ahead. Check it. Start writing away. Check. Cool. All right, now we're going to the last question. Last question of the day is from Diane. Diane in the Philippines. Hey, Diane. Oh, Philippines representing. I was telling them just this before. I was listening to a song from the Philippines today called Akin Ka Na Lang. Akin Ka Na Lang. I can't sing the rest of it. All I know is Akin Ka Na Lang, Akin Ka Na Lang, right? Let's see. You know what you've forgiven. Oh, you know that you've forgiven that person, but whenever you see him or her, all the pain comes back. Is it normal to feel that way? And the answer is yes, it is normal, right? Because things take time, and for each person, it takes longer or shorter time. The great thing is you've already forgiven them, which means that you're already on your way to the healing process. You're already on your way. And the great thing about this is this, okay? Since you're already on your way to the healing process, the great thing is, it's like a wound, right? So even if someone cuts me here, there's going to be a specific amount of time that it takes for it to heal, right? Even when someone says something nasty to you and they're your friend and they say, oh, I'm sorry, oh, it's okay. Yes, you're friends again, but it's still there for a bit, and that's normal. Why? Time heals. If you didn't forgive, then it's so much harder for you not to feel the pain. Like you'd have to just completely not see that person anymore. But since you've forgiven them, it's going to take some time. It takes some time for the wound to heal, right? So know that it's a normal and natural thing. And when your heart is ready, you'll be no problem with that, okay? And in the same way too, right? The same thing is, whatever it is, everyone's time is different. So don't be like, well, that person got hurt and then they healed after 2 days and it's already been 2 months. Everyone's different. We know some people are more sensitive than others. Some people are less sensitive than others. Some people are more sensitive to that topic, while other people aren't. Like for instance, with animals and pets, I'm not that sensitive, right? When you see like dead, like some, oh, my dog died. I was like, okay. But then, of course, I never had a dog for that long, right? I was like, okay, sounds good. But someone else is like, and then they all start crying together. Like, I see dog movies, like, these movies like A Dog's Journey and stuff. Everyone's crying in there. I'm like, why is everyone crying? And because they all have pets and they understand it. And I never really had, like, a dog. I really want one, though. All right, let's go. Is this the last question? All right, one last question. Hannah in the Philippines. Wow, another Filipina. From Hannah in the Philippines. It says, sometimes it's not your fault actually, but the person didn't realize that they've done wrong to you. And in the end, you ended up being the one to say sorry and it hurts. What to do? Well, this comes into relationship dynamics. And in some cases, this is something that you have to think about too in the future is, there is a dynamic of people who is more mature. There's some people who are more mature than others. It's a normal thing, right? For instance, in this case, let's just say I'm a parent and I have my son or my daughter. And me and my daughter are arguing, and I am clearly right. Like I'm right because I've been through this before. But they're like, but you don't understand me, Dad. And I'm like, no, I understand this, but that's wrong. It's like this. Now, what's going to happen is this. It gets to a point where the argument is so fierce, or it's going to get to a point where the relationship is broken. Right? And in that case, what do? Someone has to bite the bullet. Because I can win the argument and lose the relationship, but in that case, am I thinking only about winning the argument? No. In the end, the relationship's much more important to me. And I know that later on when this person matures, that they'll realize what I've done. Like years and years, maybe even a decade later. But sometimes the people who is a higher or more mature has to sometimes what you call bite the bullet. Take one for the team so that the relationship can go on if you really love that relationship a lot. Okay? So I understand that, but now we're getting into relationship dynamics, and that's something that we really need to take into consideration, because it could be someone who's not as mature. Like as when I was pastoring the church, of course I would have to be the bigger person, even when I didn't want to be, right? Because I'm the pastor at that time, right? So yeah, I can think of one case right now already in my head. It makes me, no, just kidding. Yeah, all right. I hope that helps you out. Okay, this is the last question. All right. It's Gordon in Korea. Okay. Hey, Sky. Hey, Gordon. How do I deal with a person that keeps making the same mistake, but you don't think they will change anytime soon? Okay. You have, that's something that it really depends how close the relationship is too. Because like for myself, if there's someone who keeps making the same mistake over and over and over and over and over and over again, and let's say it's a weekly thing, of course, you have to be patient and you teach them and you help them and sometimes they don't want to hear it, right? And this is really dependent upon how close you are with that person. Why? Because there are some people that we really, really love and cherish, and we don't want to see them get hurt, or we don't want to see them go away. And sometimes that same mistake isn't that affected, it doesn't affect you anymore, but affects a lot of other people. But of course, you have to go and help those people. And then also there's other people that have a very close relationship, like say if that's your wife or your husband. And that's something that needs to be dealt with really well, right? And the more you deal with it, the more serious it gets, if it's that close of a relationship, because it's a marriage, right? But if it's something, it really depends on the level of the relationship. Some relationships are not that close anyways. If you keep making the same mistake, you just at my work, is there someone there? It is what it is, right? You'll help to correct them, and do these things for them. But in the end, it's like someone who goes to work and then keep making the same mistake over and over again. Like they're always late, or they always make the same mistake, or they always hurt people, and eventually the repercussion is going to come for them anyways, eventually. And in a job situation, they get fired, right? Which means that if you think about ourselves too, we've had many times in our lives where we reached a certain point and it's like too much, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this. And then it takes a while for you to finally click and realize, oh, I really should change. I really should do this. So if we look at ourselves too, there are many times that we didn't realize the importance of something, and it took us a lot of time to change, and we gotta kind of put that standard on other people too. And some people just need to wait for that awakening or that realization, And like I said, it's really dependent upon what the relationship is with that person. And sometimes it's okay, you know, if it's not that close, there's not a big deal. But if the closer and closer it gets, the more big of a deal it becomes, because the more it hurts. So that's something that you need to gauge and scale on your own. Okay? Thank you so much, Gordon, for that wonderful question. That brings us to the very end. And we have 2 winners for the bubble tea. Oh, we changed the winner? Oh, we didn't change the winner. Oh, no. Okay. We picked number 4. The 4th person that got the answer right. And where am I from? I am from Canada. So congratulations to Yongjin on Facebook, and also Hannah Yusun from Japan. Well, I think she's Hannah Yusun. Hannah, is she Malaysian but living in Japan? Oh, she's Japanese. All right, Hannah Yusun and also Yongjin, put that thing back up again, so that make sure you go to espressowithsky@gmail.com, write down, hey, I'm the one that won, and then we'll send you over the free bubble teas, all right? Thank you so much for listening, and make sure, don't forget to take your pictures. Take your pictures with your bubble tea so we can see it next week. All right, guys, have a wonderful day, and we'll see you guys again. Bye-bye. Have a great weekend. Remember, to make sure to subscribe on Espresso with Sky YouTube. And if you want to support us on Patreon, go ahead and click the link. Bye-bye.